We have, my friends, a very powerful and indeed poetic passage from Isaiah. The Hebrew is always concrete objects, scenes, to express concepts and the abstract. Look, lift your eyes. Who made these stars, if not he who drills them like an army, calling each one by name? Something that one could ponder on a starry night. We are looking at time, as you know, when we look at a star. It takes a while to get here. Little ant, what are you? Calling each one by name. Our Lord also is a Hebrew, and he teaches us about providence by talking about the number of hairs on our head, about the way that we are worth more than many sparrows, about the way that the care which is seen in the way that plants, animals and birds look after themselves is perhaps a lesson for us too. I am thrilled to have a little robin who has the Hermitage as part of his territory, and we're quite good friends by now, but I often learn a lot from looking at him and him looking at me. I'm not troubled about my bank account, I'm quite happy. You idiots down there, you're wasting your time as though you ruled the world and had it on your shoulders. Indeed, somebody has given me a fridge thing, one of those magnets, and had it on it there's this little creature called David holding up the world like an atlas. So mighty, on the other hand, is his power, so great his strength, that not one fails to answer. Now this one applies to us. How can you say, Jacob? How can you insist, Israel? My destiny is hidden from the Lord. My rights are ignored by my God. I am forgotten. It's as though all my prayer is unanswered. Where is he? Is that not the cry of many a hidden Christian soul in pain? Did you not know? Had you not heard? The Lord is an everlasting God. The Hebrew has a term for that, again, very concrete. It's the God of Olam. Now, Olam comes through as seculum, or eternitas. It's now an aeon, and it comes through actually in our Christian prayer. Every collect ends up in the mode of the Hebrew, which has come straight through the Greek into the Latin, secula seculorum. In Greek, istus aeonas ton aeonon. Actually in Hebrew it's very much that. The ages of ages, olam olamim. And it gives you some idea of how the Hebrews try to express what we can't express. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And again, looking to the stars, we see that in the physical. It goes on and on and on and on. Is there a lid? Well, if you can cast your mind to pre-time, was there anything at all physically? God reigned alone. Now, we are told that he created, and there's a sequence. We have this light and dark coming in, and the fathers of the church have looked into that and seen perhaps there already some kind of prehistoric battle. Is this also what we find in St. John? Right through it, from beginning and to the end, in a different form, we have this battle, light and darkness. And it actually played out last night. I mean, the vigil of the Immaculate Conception. There was there in that night an invisible cosmic battle. The serpent, our enemy. She would crush its head, and the demon knows it. And so when you go to a prayer group where they are very much alive and switched on and buzzing, but the rosary is not even mentioned, or Our Lady at all, then know for sure that Old Nick is contaminating that group. When you find also a group which is officially Marian, but getting to the point where they're not honouring Our Blessed Lady by the way they treat her, I think you know what I mean. We got to the end, now let's get to the important bit. We'll discuss our business. Does that not ring a bell? Well, it's Old Nick too, which has made sure that the weapon that we have is completely powerless. Because he's been obliged to admit, by his reactions and by his words actually in exorcism, that the very instrument of a Blessed Rosary, when it touches a possessed person, makes him burn and howl, and he can't bear even the sight of it. Let's get this instrument out of the hands of the little people. We've grown up, haven't we? So, this, the everlasting God, in one of the passages in Isaiah, we have this beautiful verse, underneath are the everlasting arms. Well, the arms of Olam, the arms of eternity. They're the ones who at some point, first of all, out of new matter coming from somewhere, made it ex nihilo from nothing, and then, like the potter, did things with it. How it happened, we're not sure. And there's not actually complete agreement among scientists about what really took place and how. We don't need to know. We're not God. But what we do need to know is that He knows, and there's nothing new under the sun. And when we discover bits of His truth, we think we're God. With regard to what then happens, we, because we think we know so much, take on responsibilities which are not of our domain. Worry is based on an illusion. Care and preparation is put in our heart by God. Worry is when we've gone too far, and when also we've lost from vision that He precisely is the one that's looking after the whole creation. Although with our help, not in such a way that we are indispensable. There's an old French saying, les cimetières sont pleins de gens qui se pensaient indispensables. Cemeteries are full of people who thought themselves indispensable. What we can do is limited actually to our immediate. The only thing we have full control of is actually our mind and our soul. And in the measure in which our body is functioning, we have that too. But we're not in control of our body. That too is going to get decayed, is going to malfunction. Only the soul we can actually handle from within. How much more is that true of what is outside even our body? Now, compare the quality of life of a person who, throughout his innings on earth, is worried, with one who has understood his nature and the nature of life itself. Somebody dying said, all the worrying I did in my life was not much use to me. because all the things I worried about never happened anyway. It's rather like that. I've discovered, actually, over the years, a secret. It's this: have no needs or expectations, but take all as a plus. And it's hugely, hugely liberating. It's the mode that then comes into the present moment and receives it as it comes, as the sacrament of God's presence in the now. It's the teaching of Père de Caussade, a great Jesuit, centuries ago by now. It's that the moment right now contains in it all the grace we need for it. The sacrament du moment présent, the sacrament of the present moment. If we live in it, if we lean upon it, and not on the next or the one before it, we're living in the truth of our state. The only moment that ever was and ever will be is the present one. If we miss it, we miss all others. Getting back to where I started, when the universe was empty, we don't know how it was, God created. Now, was this creation of light the creation of angels? And was this darkness this battle? Question mark. What came out of the angels? When God created things that started to move and be, something happened. In physics, we're taught that time is movement over distance, isn't it? Or the other way around. Those three are linked, aren't they? One is a measure of the other. And when, therefore, there is no object moving, there is no time in eternity until they start to move. It's a big emptiness. But God lives in one huge present moment in which he sees it all. Hence we can see that prophecy is possible for him. And by the way, conditional prophecy is based on the fact that he can also see what we call in philosophy les futuribles, the futurables, the ones that could in parallel be if such a cause is put there. It can change and the other series will happen. But we have power over those series. Right now, a decision you make can change all time. A girl who says yes or no to a proposition of marriage, or even solicits one indirectly, a boy who says yes or no to an invitation to go to a monastery and see what might be there, these are initial embryonic moments that could be cosmic in their consequences. Huge. And life is full of these potentialities. Don't treat events lightly. They have their hidden potential grace. It applies also to people like you who might be influential in prayer groups or in situations in church life where you have certain powers to make things happen. Because the Spirit will come to you more than to others when something has to be done in his name. It's what we call grace of state. There is a particular grace given by the Holy Ghost to those acting by mandate in his name in a certain situation, which will not come to someone who is not. That was very important to remember in the monastery when you get people who are not mandated interfering in formation. They can actually do the devil's work. And it could happen also in a parish or whatever. The grace is given to those who are placed there by order. There's an order. As in hell, there's an order. That's why it works so well. It's come out in exorcism. There's a perfect order. Jumping to the gospel, there is a promise. Come to me, all you who labor and are overburdened. Now, we ourselves can be guilty of making those burdens. We can, for instance, insist that there will be not joy or peace unless such and such happens, worry, but also based on illusion of need and satisfaction. But also, we can deprive ourselves of the promise of the Lord by one subtle, not sin, but virtue out of control. There is a definition of prudence, one of those cardinal virtues, which in Latin is auriga virtutum, the charioteer of virtues. The charioteer was the one who held the reins and had to be in control of the horse or horses, and had to be therefore the one who was fully aware of the danger. If there is no auriga, no charioteer able to command these horses and the virtues themselves, it's virtue out of order, and that is extremely dangerous. Prudence is a virtue of measure, and I have seen that in situations where generous souls take on things which they were not asked to, out of generosity, they can end up in a situation where prudence is no longer in control, but the things themselves have taken on their own momentum which cannot be controlled. I'll give you a concrete example. In Italy, when I was ordained, to a French community there near Siena, which we had reopened, we had possession of the monastery again in 1992, after being closed in 1462. It was a brilliant community, all young. They were all younger than myself except the founding prior. Beautiful voices, we have to make CDs. Huge influence over the young people, they come by the thousand, like a Tese in Italy, well known. Beautiful acoustics in church, orthodox, very reverent, every word was in Latin in church, except the readings. And no, but they were in Latin. The readings actually at night were in Latin, but the Mass was in whatever language, as well as the Latin that was being used by people there, German, French, English, whatever was there, but mainly Italian. And a huge powerhouse of creating things, even books. But old Nick knew the damage, so he was going to destroy that. What did he do? He used the generosity of the brethren. Let's take on this brilliant idea. Yeah! And on it would go. And the Archbishop asking us to take on new parish areas. Yeah, of course! On it would go. And what we saw was, bit by bit, the brilliant community becoming very thinly spread. And what happens there? Yes, the structure was maintained. Even mental prayer was maintained. Nothing was stopped with regard to the office. It was complete, solemn, beautiful, incense every day. But the mind was full of what happened afterwards. And community life suffers. Tensions rise. The mind is not free for contemplation. It's full of other things. And then the proportion changes, because handling souls all the time, especially young souls, by nature is draining. One is drawn, channeled from within to without, so the orientation of the soul is outward and not inward, and the contemplative life becomes active and changes proportion. Down the years we saw the consequences. The sub-prior is now the father of a family. The one who took his place eventually as sub-prior is also the father of a family, and he's not even laicized. His wife, his partner, is a divorcee. They are down now from 9, 10, whatever we were, to 4, of which only one is in good health. It'll probably have to close. They've moved back to France. All that to say, it was due to this disease, which Pope Benedict refers to as the malady of activism. which leads, he put it like this, very strongly actually, to hardness of heart, because the heart is not being treated. It hasn't got time for itself. One cannot love and not have quality time, free time, to gaze into the eyes of the loved one. But it can happen to you as well, and it does. Virtuous, generous souls are the most risky, and I've seen it. Beautiful, beautiful souls who are eaten up at both ends. Beware. If you want to claim the promise of the Lord, come to me, all you who labour and are overburdened, and I will give you rest. You must also do what he wants, and not do anything without consulting him. And don't have the reaction either, every time you're asked to do something, to say straight away yes, but say, can I bring that to prayer? Or can I have a word with the Lord before I undertake that, so that he is actually from within inspiring you, not at the first reaction, but after the pause before his eyes, to see, maybe, well, actually, if you do that, we'll lose our intimacy, which matters. There was a Carthusian dying some years ago who said, "J'ai gaspillé ma vie. I wasted my life à faire trop de choses, doing too many